you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Whistle Talk. Mike D, the referee, coming at you from a cold New Jersey today. Cold, but that does happen every once in a while in this December month of the year. Once again, being joined by my buddy Daniel Chamberlain. Daniel, what's cracking, bud?
It is cold, Mike. It's hovering above freezing here, but it's still chilly. The wind stinks. I did watch whatever the game was last night, Green Bay, and it was like 12 degrees with a wind chill of 7 or something, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad it's not that cold. Although I do tend to like the cold over hot. So
well, yeah, but I don't know if you got a chance to see the Buffalo game yesterday. They had some nice lake effect snow going on in the Bills game yesterday. So
I hope they never go indoors. You know, like I think that their new stadium's supposed to be a dome, and I hope they don't.
It has some dome features. I'm not sure if it's 100% dome or if it's going to be kind of like Jerry's World where it can retract and open up. Where I know that they still have the elements that are going to play a part to some point, but yeah, it's fun watching football there, and they embrace the hell out of it.
Oh, it looks like it is an open dome, but it might be a heated turf or something, so the snow doesn't necessarily affect it as bad. Either way, that's cool. At least they're staying outside because that's really what you want, right?
That's Buffalo.
Yeah,
that's the Bills Mafia.
I hope that. I mean, football should be outside
always, and on grass. But for me as an official, I prefer the turf better. But the NFL guys, well, they're a lot more athletic.
It is easier to mark. But as a coach, like I almost want a turfed practice field and a grass game field. Like that's the life.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to run around in dust 5 or 4 days a week for practice, because after like week 3 or 4, that's what it is. It's just a dust out here. I mean, it's like a freaking dust.
It's everywhere. Yep.
So that's your practice field, but on game, I don't really want to be on turf. So anyway, that's what it is.
As an official, I just prefer the turf because I know where I step is going to be a smooth step. Because being the umpire, I'm already stepping into my own world every once in a while and getting run into and smacked around. So picking up divots and stuff like that at the end of the year just makes it a little bit more uncomfortable at times. So,
sure.
But hey, we're getting close to the end here of the season. I know here in New Jersey we just finally wrapped everything up, so I'm in off-season mode myself mentally. I got to get myself back into game mode physically, though. That's a year-round thing. But I know a lot of states are coming up to their finals, and I think you just said Oklahoma is coming to their state finals, their championships this weekend.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of them just got played last weekend, and then I think there's 2 or 3 more games this weekend. So
nice. Yeah, so we are December 8th as of recording, so day after Pearl Harbor Day. Once again, thank you to all the veterans and memorializing all those World War II heroes that were out there. So thank you for that. And, with that, I got to give a little plug here to the Battlefields to Ballfields folks. So once again, supporting our program here. So if you're a veteran out there, a veteran, steer them to Battlefields to Ballfields. Anybody that wants to be involved in the officiating world, it's a great program that helps out with scholarships for all walks of life and all walks of athletics. It's not just football. So if you're interested and you're a veteran, reach out to those guys. Great people there. But tonight kind of got a little wrap up show, end of the season type of reflection that we're going to talk about. And Daniel, from the coaching point of view, I know I used to as a coach, and when I was former player way back in the Dust Bowl kind of days, we used to have like an exit interview with our coaches and the coaches with the players and stuff like that. Well, I put together a little end of the season reflection for us officials too, that I like to go over myself mentally, and I'll share out to other officials. But it's a great thing to do if you are on a set crew of possibly getting together end of the season, have a little cocktail, which cheers, my friend. Got a little bourbon
Cheers,
tonight.
cheers, cheers, a little bourbon.
So a little end of the season reflection as a crew you can do together, have some cocktails, and just well, what can we do to make ourselves better for next year? Because that's always the goal, make ourselves better for next week, next game, next season, next snap, whatever it might be. But when you're in the off season, well, that's what happens. Before we dive in, once again, though, ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying the show, like it, share it, leave your comments, not compliments. Doesn't have to be a compliment. I'd like it to be a compliment, but leave your comments on the sites. You can find it Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Hit those like buttons, hit those subscribe buttons, all those fun things. And if you're interested in buying Daniel and myself a cocktail, you can always go to the buy me a beer. So it's at buymeacoffee.com, at Mike D the referee. So I'll have those there, and I could share it with Mr. Chamberlain across the way too. But get those things out of the way. Oh, Daniel, before we dive into our end of the year stuff, Coach Chip giving you a shout out here. Coach Chip sent me a play that I've talked about, and it's like that mythical creature type of play. So I want to play that here for us while I got it. It's fresh in my mind. This was from Alabama state championship game this past weekend. So I think I got it queued up here.
Hang around for a couple minutes.
So we got 10 seconds left. We got
from
fair catch at the 40
inside their own
line
territory
here in Alabama. This is from the NFHS network. And ladies and gentlemen, as I'm watching this view, we had the punt basically from the end zone, fair caught at the plus 40-yard line. And it's in a freaking downpour. So I give this kid props in high school. A great operation of getting that punt off, but to catch the ball, I mean, how often do you see the ball hit the ground in a punt in high school games?
Almost every one of them. It's got to be 85% of punts hit the ground in high school football.
Yeah, and it's frustrating as heck, but this young man does a great job, gets the fair catch, catches the fair catch at the 40-yard line. And ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
You know, fair catch at the end. You can take a free kick, and if you can make it now, I mean it's a field goal, and
you can put it on the kickoff tee,
and it is very much within his range now.
Well, we saw him kick.
Why are the guys out there just
kick off and
comfort?
drive the ball?
Got to have
I guess the other group is still
a regular
return.
kickoff,
Yes,
regular distance. He's
got a shot at this.
he could put this one above the field club.
And it's going to be close.
Choosing.
And there you go.
There it is. My man hit a 50-yard field goal at the end of the first half. That team does go on and wins themselves a state championship game. At halftime of that game, they interview the coach, and he was just, yeah, we practice that each week, and we finally got a chance to run it. So to hear him say that, well, heck, I haven't seen it, and Coach Chip gave me a shout out when he saw it, and then I went and found it and had to open it up. But there it is, ladies and gentlemen, your fair catch to a free kick, and my man drills it. Now, Daniel, I wanted you to, there was one little nuance that I wasn't sure if you picked up on when the kicker came out with the tee. Did you see where the official was telling him to put the ball?
I did not. I assume he was probably wrong. Probably telling him to put it 7 yards behind or something.
No, he was right. He was giving them the yard line, so they fair caught it on the 40-yard line. But with a fair catch, they could have picked and chose anywhere inside the hashes to kick that from. But it was a righty kicker, so they were kind of on what would be the offensive or the K's right hash, so into the hook zone. So maybe that's where they preferred it. But if he wanted to center that up, he could have centered it up. But the referee was pointing like, okay, I don't know. Let me back up. I don't know if the kid asked them where did he fair catch it from, and they didn't know that they could get that option. But you also have that option on the fair catch to put it wherever you would like. So but yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. Coach Chip, thank you once again. Chip Siegel, ladies and gents, go check out his stuff. Go check out his work.
He's
Good
got
man.
good stuff.
I was trying to
Chip's
get
a
him
good
on
guy.
tonight. He's doing a banquet tonight. He's on the banquet tour. I think it's the Heisman Trophy season for him. All right, Daniel. So I got my end of the season reflection slides pulled up here. So I'm going to jump in and again, I have Daniel here because where you see the different things like that, talk us through what you as a coaches are doing with your players and what your coaching staff might be doing too for an end of the season reflection. So we'll kind of go back and forth with it with some ideas here. So if anybody is interested too, I will share this document. I have it on a Google Doc, and I kind of just transferred it over to my Google Slides here for tonight's episodes for visual in the background. But I will more than welcome share this document with anybody. Just hit me up. Mike D, the referee at gmail.com. I'll email it over to you and share it over to you if you want to talk it over with your crew. But so I start off with just some big picture season review. And I kind of break each segment down into 3 types of questions and different things for me to kind of reflect on. And again, this is something that I do personally, but this is something you can also do as a crew. So my first one in the big picture is, what are 3 things that I did really well during the season? I want to start off on the positives. Did I feel I had good game management? My presence, we talk about verbalizing and making your presence known without having to make your presence known with the yellow hankies. Did I hustle but not rush? So that's always a thing we talk about. We want to make sure that we're in good position, but we don't want it to run ourselves out of position. Did I have good rules knowledge, leadership of my crew? Like, what were some things that I was happy with that, okay, I think I did a good job with that. And then consequently now, what are 3 specific areas where I could possibly improve on before next season? And again, I've got some ideas here: judgment, fitness, dead ball officiating, my communication, not only with my fellow officials, but with the coaches or even with the players, my signals and my rule study. Now I will tell you, signals for the referees is always something that, like, they're kind of looking at some people. If you're not a full-time referee, knowing that obscure signal, which we went through in one of the episodes, when you're put on the spot, you're like, wait a minute, what's that one? So you kind of want to make sure that you know all those ones. So it's a great practice in the sub-varsity games. And then the last one here for this slide, big picture review, is what were some of the most challenging games or moments that I faced, and how did I respond to them in real time? And then how did I respond to them afterwards? And again, reflectively, would I have handled them any differently now that I sit back? Listen, I know you as a coach, me as an official, Monday morning quarterbacks, we all need to have a little bit in ourselves of going back and reflecting and taking a look at, okay, I probably handled that one wrong, or should have kept that flag in my pocket, different things like that. So these are things that, and now with huddle and with the officials having huddle, I can go back and rewatch my game films now again and take a look at those things to try to get myself better for next year. So Daniel, on a coaching side, what do you guys do together, coach to coach, and like on your team?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. Coaching wise, we do the same thing, exit interviews. I have been a couple different places where these were done somewhat different, but it's always the same idea. Generally, the head coach is asking 2 things. 1, evaluate him, and 2, a self-evaluation, or a kind of a I guess it's self-evaluation. And then most schools I've been at do exit interviews with the kids. This isn't just your seniors. This is every kid on the way, all the way down. It allows you to see those seniors that, yes, they are sending off. Do they feel like things are getting better? Things are getting worse? Lets them answer all the big time questions. But your freshmen who probably didn't get a single snap in varsity, but maybe played some JV or whatever, however you're having to mix it up. Here in small schools, often those 9th graders can play down a little bit, but just did they feel appreciated? Did they get some development, et cetera, et cetera? So, we're kind of doing the exact same thing. I like these big picture season questions. For us as coaches, we're really just trying to look at, like, as a head coach would be asking me, did you enjoy your time here? Was this season enjoyable to you, because at the end of the day, this is a game and we are supposed to be developing players. We're supposed to be making the game a better place, but we're enjoying it. If you don't enjoy it, like, go do something else, because you're just going to pass off that lack of joy to others. The most challenging part of this team or the staff, or however you want to phrase that question, just any challenges you came across, and then kind of like describe what you saw as the overall attitude and effort by the team. Essentially, do we have kids that look like they want to be here, or are we, babysitters that happen to stay for 2 hours every day and then we go play a game on Friday night? So that's kind of the big picture. You get into culture, you get into player development, lots and lots of big questions you have to answer there.
I like, though, that you mentioned the head coach asking you to give them feedback on them. That's something that I find very interesting, because a lot of times the man in charge, the woman in charge, whomever it may be, sometimes they don't want to hear that. Sometimes egos kind of get in the way, and
Right.
with our white hats, it can happen. With the head coaches, it can happen. So that's interesting that you bring that up. Have you ever encountered one where it wasn't so positive?
Yeah, and so I've worked for a coach who had more state championships than I'll ever be in, and I never got to do an evaluation for him, so I don't know if he did one or not.
Okay.
He was so successful, I think people just knew that he's good, and he obviously 30 some odd years of doing, he'd worked out all the kinks. And I worked for a guy who's really good, and we won, we went 500, and he's the one that asked the questions. And I was just very honest, which is hard to get. I feel like that's harder to get than a head coach who wants to be evaluated, as someone who'll give you an honest assessment, because those relationships are so transactional sometimes. You don't have that. Like, we're a brotherhood. And so when that head coach was asking me what went poorly this year, it's like, maybe it was practice management. We were out there way too long. We practiced the wrong things. Other, assistant coaches didn't know their role, or didn't know the playbook, or didn't, like the things he can actually change. I was very much so straightforward with him. And then, after I did the form online, and then we had a face-to-face meeting and went through the answers. So it's like you're answering when he's not staring at you in the face, but then you talk about him. And so, man, it was just a perfect way to do it. If you're looking for a way to do it, that's the way.
I like that. I like that a lot. And sometimes when you are face to face, a lot of people are just going to kind of placate to the question and just give them the answer that they think they want to hear, as opposed to,
sure.
I thought that we could have done something a little bit different. And in my opinion, I think that's something that, again, should be probably happening year round too. And I'm sure you, as a coaching staff, you do bounce ideas back and forth, but now in a truly reflective fashion now. And one thing when I was a coach, I always talked about, and I had in my mind, was with parents, with coaches, with film, is give me 24 hours, the 24-hour rule. Let me go home and let it sink in, because right after the game, the emotions are flying high in either direction, positively or negatively. So let's take 24 hours to just cool off and just think about it. And then let's come together and if you got suggestions, if you got positives, negatives, anything, and let me see it on film too. Like, all those things I liked to do as a coach back in the day, and I still like doing it now as an official.
Yeah. No, I think that's where you have to be. You've got to let people bounce ideas around, and if you get stuck in your own echo chamber of yes men, you're not going to be successful in a way. Or maybe you are. I don't know. I guess you can be. It's not necessarily a death wish, but I just feel like you're going to get more out of you let people tell you where you're screwing up.
Absolutely. All right, so my next slide that I have here, I'm kind of now going from more of a broad point of view with the full evaluation, now to getting to a couple more specifics and kind of like whittling it down to more and more specific. So this next one I have is rules, judgments, and mechanics. And with this one, again, breaking it down into three segments. First one, rules. Where did I feel confident, or least confident, I should say, in a live action game? Which rules did I kind of feel deficient on? Did I say that, man, I really got to go back and look at that? And again, examples are catch, no catch, like with all the different nuances. And man, we're seeing that all over the place now in NCAA and the NFL. Again, it's coming back. But do I feel confident, or was I least confident in targeting? Penalty, pass interference penalties, blocks below the waist, timing, substitutions, things like that. They're a weakness that I know that I identified that, hey, I got to get stronger on that one. Looking back on it, I probably didn't throw enough defensive pass interference penalties where it was warranted and things like that. And now you go to mechanics, which I know I really harp on, but how often was I in the correct position and at the correct depth and angle, and at what situations did my mechanics possibly break down? Breakdown being, was it a 2-minute drill? Was it a lopsided game type of situation? So there's a lot of different variables that I want to make sure that I'm in the right spot at the right time, have the right angle to do my job, and hopefully have faith that my other officials are doing their job. But at what point, like, was it reverse mechanics where we had a turnover and all of a sudden I had to sprint my ass and now I was the lead official instead of being the spot official? So depending upon where you are, like, there's a lot of different type of situational scenarios that with mechanics. And then the last one is, did my foul selection and judgment? God, I've had one sip of bourbon and I'm slurring already.
Some good stuff.
Hey.
A rare breed.
Did my foul selection and judgment match the standards that my state is putting out, my association, and more importantly, my crew? And that's something that, like, you really want to kind of play to your crew, and your crew has standards, and hopefully those standards then carry on through the association and through the state. But how was my selection on throwing the flags and different things like that, or not throwing a flag? Did I kind of stay in line with the rest of my crew? So things like that. Now, again, as an official, I'm kind of thinking back on.
We would equate that in the football world like X's and O's. Were we doing the right thing? I actually laughed that you said, were my rules or the live action seeing. I've been breaking down a ton of film this week, and I watched. The game was out of hand anyway, but a team got a DPI called against them, and it was just their feet got tangled up, and the offensive guy fell down. The defensive guy was in front of him, and the ball was almost uncatchable, and you see the flag come out, and you're like, man, that stinks, right? But now that I've been on here with you enough, I know that the ref can't have his eyes everywhere, right? He can't look for a tipped ball and look to see if there's – the quarterback probably didn't see that defender either, but so how's the ref supposed to see the wide receiver and the defender running? It's just a lot going on, but – anyway, back to football. Coaches, we can check. Did we know we make right adjustments, substitutions? Were we getting the right information back and forth from the box to the sidelines?
Huge,
right? Because that stuff, lack of communication or miscommunication, that happens all the time. Were people accepting of the information they were being told? Did they know what to do with it? I'm pretty convinced, like 70% of coordinators on defense, you could tell them power's coming right now to your right. And they would know what to do. Like, okay, so what do? I just call my base play? Like, there's just sometimes even knowing you can't make the changes fast enough. So are we doing that? Are we using the information we have? Anyway, yeah. So we do a lot of the same stuff.
So going back to my coordinator days, when I was running the flex bone, the flex bone is very gross. What?
Gross.
Oh, it was such a fun offense because you can't stop it if we run it correctly.
Right. Every offense on earth can't stop it if you run it correctly.
Absolutely. I can draw it up against any defense and I'll win. But I relied heavily on my eyes in the sky. I relied heavily on the thought process that I was trained, and I picked this up from going to the Navy clinics, was I want to run veer. I want to run veer. I want to run veer. I want to run veer until you stop it. And I had keys. Okay, who made the tackle on that play? Was it the defensive end crashing down? Was it the backside linebacker coming over the top? If you could give me who that was, my next play call was going to be dictated off of who made the play on the previous one. And it was a very difficult thing for me to get from the sidelines, because the person I had up in the booth at times was caught up because they were also a position coach. So they were just watching their position instead of watching the keys. So then at times I went upstairs and I was calling the plays from upstairs because then I could watch my keys, but then relaying the information down to the quarterback and having that communication with the quarterback. It was just, I could never find my comfort zone with that. So having that person upstairs and having that line of communication, like you were just talking about, is huge on the coaching side.
Yeah, it's people don't understand that right there. You can draw up any offense to beat any defense, but can you get the weakness communicated? Can the coordinator get a call that matches that weakness? Can the kids perform it? The answer, a lot of times, one of those breaks down, the answer is no.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of time. Now, even with offensive football being pandered to in the rules and that, it's still very hard to get that communication piece through so that you have the perfect call every time.
Yeah, and it's why I say that football is the greatest team sport around, because if one person has a breakdown, the play typically goes for naught. Where in basketball, you can have Michael Jordan out there, he could score 90 points and you could win 91-3 or 91-90. 91-3. That would really be a blowout.
There's some OU games like that back in the day.
Oh, yeah, they were pretty good then. All right. So the next slide I got here is now crew communication and leadership. So this one I kind of put not just more so to the white hats, but me as the umpire, I like to consider myself basically the backup white hat in essence, because I'm the one who's working hand in hand more so with the white hat. We're communicating every single play with each other, where sometimes the wings are communicating with each other and communicating with their deep wings, but it's myself and the referee. So one question is, how effective was my pregame with my crew? This is something we could actually now, because we've been a crew together, I can basically verbatim say my white hat's pregame speech to us. Unless something wonky happened the previous week or something was brought up on film that we want to talk about, he's got his set routine things and reminders that he's going to go over with us. Flags, whistles, point of the attack, safety, and then he goes into the wind and kick game and things like that. But are we consistent with it? Are we covering everything, or are we consistently missing something? I carry with me as an umpire our overtime rules. So I have them there because we typically don't talk about that in our pregame because we're not anticipating a game going into overtime. But then when it comes maybe halftime, we'll start, all right, hey, Mike, you got that? I got it. We're good. So that would be an unusual situation. Communication plans. What are we going to do if X, Y, or Z happens? So these are things that we want to kind of have preset pregame. And especially if you're in a state where you don't have set crews. If you're the white hat, you want to communicate that before the game to everybody so that you're all on the same page and you all understand your responsibilities. I've talked to people from multiple states that are traveling, and the mechanics from one area to the next area is different. And then they're getting married together for a big game. And they're like, well, we don't do it that way. So that's where having that pregame is really, really going to be important, to make sure that you're all in tune with each other and in tune with what the white hat wants, because that's, again, the person who's all the eyes are on.
I feel like that's something, Mike, we don't do as coaches well enough, is discuss. You talked about keys earlier as a coordinator, right? You had what people need to be watching. I think a lot of times these younger coordinators don't know what they want you to watch anyways, but there's no communication. It's like you're expected to know what they want out of you in the box or on the sideline, like what is your job? But we forget to practice that, right? We don't pull out our headsets on Thursday and go through what is this communication going to be like. It's like, oh, we just kicked off and now I'm on defense and I'm supposed to be having a conversation with the guy in the booth and he doesn't know what to tell me and I forgot to tell him and now I've wasted this. But not only that, we don't learn from that. So next week we do it the same way again. Yep. You know what I mean? Like those pregame meetings, like I think coaches could steal that from you and have a little bit of that ourselves and probably be a lot better. And maybe I just come from staffs that aren't as well organized. Maybe I'm just out of the loop. I don't know. I don't want to put all of us in the same bucket here, but definitely could be in better.
So when I coached at college, when I was coaching at the Division III college, Thursday nights were we always called them our marathon practices when I was playing, because everything that day was situational practice. Every single situation, especially from the offensive side, any single situation you can possibly imagine, we practiced. And then we would have the special teams portion of it. But then as coaches, when I got into the coaching aspect of it, that would be our meeting days. And we would sit together as a staff and have basically our pregame meeting on a Thursday. With the defensive side, I was coaching tight ends at the time, so I was on the offensive side, and it would be the full staff, offense and defense, all together, special teams all together, and we'd be going back and forth with each other and just trying to have that communication and keys. And okay, what can I do on the offensive side for you defensively? Can I communicate? How do you want me, if I pick up on a trend that they're doing offensively, how do you want me to communicate that with you during the game? Do you want me to talk to somebody up in the booth to tell you down? Do you want me to talk to you on the sidelines? Because some people are so, don't talk to me right now. Which is fine because they're into the game. But that was some of the things that I learned back then. And that was our pregame meeting. And then offensively, yeah, we would still have a pregame kind of meeting in the locker room after we would break off with the kids, let the captains have their free time. We would kind of bring it together as a coaching staff, and then we would just talk about different things. And this kind of goes into my next one now here. It's how well do I communicate with my partners during the game? And you'll see here, eye contact. Now, a lot of times we're across the field. We now have the O to O's, but during the play or right before the snap, I don't want to be on the O to O. My white hat hates it. He doesn't want to hear things going on in his brain because he's already got enough voices in his head.
Got him.
So he and I are in charge of making sure that the offense has 11. And so I'll put my fist up. All right, I got 11. And he may have done it earlier. I might do it a little bit later, but we always kind of make eye contact, or I'll give him a little nod once I see him signal it. If I already signaled it and I see him, I could just give him a little nod, and boom, we're ready to go. Now my eyes are back to where they need to be. Crew saves. This one's a huge one. My guy talks about this one every pregame. He doesn't want me as an umpire looking for anything ticky-tack on a punt. He wants me, once that wave clears me and I'm safe and I'm not going to potentially get run into by somebody that's covering the punt, he wants me to turn around as quickly as possible and try to catch if that ball was muffed, if it was blocked into a returner or something like that, where possibly our deep wings, because we don't have that guy in the middle of the field, might miss. So I can possibly save the crew by saying, no, we had a first touching or we had a muff, depending on what it may be. Quiet words. Five will get you one. Short, long. Those are little things that we do at my short wings on. If it's 2nd and 5.5, I'll look at them and they'll give me a tap up here. It's a short 5, meaning if the defense jumps off sides, we got a first down. So that would be 4.5. Or if it's 5.5, they'll go like a long sleeve shirt and they'll tap down by their wrist. So different things like that. And this one I love. Halftime adjustments. Coaches, do you guys make halftime adjustments?
Dang right we do.
If you don't, you got to reflect. I mean, that used to be one of our greatest aspects that I had as a coach, is we would come in at halftime and come out the second half, and if you were our opposing coach, you would think that it was a completely different game plan. But it's no, we just kind of tweaked the little thing. Okay, on power, instead of kicking out this guy, we're gonna down block that guy and let's lock on with him. And now all of a sudden it looks like a completely different play.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, if I'm the crew chief, did I provide clear leadership? Were my expectations out there? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good word, but especially if it's not my crew. And as a white hat, that's kind of where I filled in this year, being a substitute white hat. So were my expectations truly put out there for everybody to understand what I was looking for, and so that they can go into the game feeling comfortable with how they were going to call the game. So those are kind of the crew communication type of things.
Coaching side, we have to discuss communication together, but we also have a bunch of kids out there running around that we have to communicate with. So it's like you have to have this conversation twice. Did we do it well? Did we talk together well enough? Did we communicate, like we said earlier, weaknesses in the defense, or which kids are getting smoked and we've got to get them out of the game and get a replacement, whatever that looks like. But then also, are we communicating to the kids like, hey, quarterback, here's the expectations. RPOs are all the thing right now. I bet there's quarterbacks out there that don't know which are the throw. I definitely want to throw this if you have any glimpse of hope.
Yep.
Or this one I kind of want you to hand off. If they just bust it, though, I'm giving you an alert that, like, throw the ball. You know what I mean? If it's completely busted. Nobody covers that guy, whatever. You have the opportunity to throw this. So are those communicated? On to expectations, same thing. And I learned this in the military. If your expectations aren't written down, no one's ever heard them before, right? Have I physically written them, typed them out, printed them out, and handed them over to someone so that they can go through them? We have to do what we call like initial counselings. So that is a counseling statement both parties sign saying, yes, we talked about this. We had a meeting. And I'm not so sure that isn't the way to get that done everywhere in life.
Yeah.
As a white hat, a substitute, it sounds goofy. Oh, yeah, I'm going to set everybody down and we're going to go through my list of expectations until they're not met.
Yeah.
And then you're going, extreme ownership says this is my fault, not theirs. Even if I said it 10 times, don't throw your shoe for a third penalty. Don't throw your shoe for a third penalty. Did I write it down and get acknowledgement that people will not throw their shoe as a third penalty flag? If not, it doesn't matter what you said. It isn't written down. So make sure your expectations are out there, written down where everyone can see them and understand them.
So I love that you gave us the reminder there that you're coaching high school age kids, youth kids. Well, I'm doing the same thing. I'm officiating high school age kids, youth kids. So my communication also needs to be clear and precise and professional. And you brought up the gentleman who we talked about last week of throwing their shoe. But I can remember back in my early years, this was probably my first or second year coaching high school football. I was up in the press box. I was an assistant coach. I wasn't a coordinator at the time. I was an assistant coach upstairs. And I don't remember the exact situation, but we had one kid who was shit in the bed. He just was not having his game. And I was fired up. I was emotional. And over the headset, I'm like, get his ass out of there. He sucks, blah, blah, blah. Why are we playing him? And literally within 3 to 4 seconds after saying that, I looked down, and right below me from the press box was mom, dad, grandma, sisters. And I'm like, oh my God, I just absolutely belittled a 15, 16, 17-year-old young man in front of his entire family.
Yep.
And I owned up to it afterwards. After the game, I went and I apologized, and I ate crow. Like they sat there and they ripped me, and I said, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Sorry, ma'am. Yes, you're right. I apologize. And I went to the kid and I apologized to him afterwards too, and told him what I did because he couldn't hear me from the press box. Although I thought he could hear me from the press box because I was yelling that loudly about him. But it was a bad moment in my life. And, we talk about the guy throwing the shoe. I was 25 years old here in this scenario, but it was unprofessional of me. I was still a teacher at the time. And so, yeah, I was 100% in the wrong. Now, Daniel, your press boxes, where is the opposing team when you're upstairs giving feedback to your coaches about what you're seeing? Are they in a different area of the press box?
Yeah, generally, but I have to kind of tell on it this year. Last year we had a very small section of our press box and we didn't like it, so we wanted a wider one, and so we asked to be moved. So we swapped with the live broadcast team, gave them the smaller one so we could spread out because there's a few of us up there doing our thing, which put us door to door, like side by side with the opponent's coaches. Now, like I weaponized it, so I'm not, we would throw out some fake screaming at the top of my lungs. Do the reverse. All right, good. Yeah. They'll definitely bite on this one, and then it's not the reverse. But there was times that I absolutely was out of my head and just, in the game, in the moment, you forget that there's side, you're door to door with these guys. So generally we're either across the field or opposite ends of the press box, but at home this year we were side by side.
So in New Jersey, the rule is that the opposing team has to have at least the same vantage point as the home team. So you can't put somebody like in a 10-foot press box and you're in a 40-foot press box up top. You got to at least give them the same opportunity for the same vantage point. So there's a lot of times where I was standing on the top of the press box and the other coaches were on the opposite side of a fenced-in press box upstairs, but in the open. So there was nothing dividing us other than crickets in the night skies. So you kind of had to be mindful. And that was unfortunately where I embarrassed myself with this one family. But I was more mindful of not giving something up to the opposing team as opposed to embarrassing this kid. Well, I learned my lesson the hard way. I was young, dumb, and full of, I'm not going to finish that.
Testosterone.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on. All right, sideline player coach management. This one is always one that we talk about. So now, how did I handle conflict with coaches and emotional charged situations, and where could my composure, wording, or timing improve? Always something I got to reflect on. That's one I do on almost a game-to-game basis, if not all of these, but that one's like, I mean, heck, that's a play-to-play one. Did I build a professional rapport with the coaches and captains while still enforcing the boundaries and protecting the game? Did I tell the coach he has an awesome looking mustache?
See, I do this and then we get more flags than if I don't do it.
And were there any repeated compliments or themes from coaches, assigners, or observers that I need to address head on? Now, I have to say that one with a little bit of a grain of salt, because you have one coach in every single game from each team that his kids are being held on every single play that you have to just brush that off. Ignore that one.
So it goes back to like this year, you know, I generally coach from the booth. I came down at halftime this year. I just felt more useful down there for whatever the circumstance of that game. And there was a ref that he was having a pretty bad night. There was, I mean, when we went back and look at huddle, like he threw some ghost flags that we were like, what could you possibly have seen? Mm-hmm. And not like from the coach's bias, rose-colored glasses. Legit, like, all right, this doesn't make sense in the game of football. Yeah. And then he was getting it on both sidelines, honestly. But when I came down at half, he'd already been abused, really. I mean, honestly. And he earned it, I think. But I just had to back off. I heard my guys already getting into him a little bit. And so I just walked up and was like, hey, my DB on the far side, I believe that he is getting pushed off when that guy runs his comebacks. Can we just look at that? And he was like, yes, that's the perfect way to address that with me, right? Sometimes as coaches, we have to back that communication up to stay professional. Look for like we've been complaining about you all night. It's obviously not working. We've had that conversation on here before, right? I'm not going to change your mind about a flag. I'm never going to get a flag or get a flag waved off by belittling you. But that doesn't mean tell them how cool their mustache is going to buy you any flags either. But, you know, it was just like one of those, like we had to break that consistent, complaining. We had to break it up and just go with a more professional conversation. And I mean, I don't know that it worked. I don't know that he threw or did not throw any more flags because I can't see the future in both directions and see what he would have done. But he seemed to officiate better after that point.
And I think you're right. Not that he officiated any better or any worse after that point, but just the appreciation and okay, you're acknowledging me. Hey, can you take a look at this? Absolutely. I'll take a look at it, as opposed to you suck, you missed that, you're blind, get off your knees, you're blowing the game, all those other fun things. Oh. Yeah, you've heard them in the game.
Yeah. I kind of want to actually touch on the second point too before you move on. I'm talking about that professional rapport. I don't know if there is a line between like it doesn't have to be us versus them. It doesn't have to be 3 teams on the field. It should be 2 teams and the guys who are officiating the game. And I know that sounds very simple, but like I think it's okay to crack jokes with the ref to get to know them.
Yep.
I mean, if I'm going to be coaching at a school in a district in a certain, in a region in Oklahoma for 20 years, I'm going to have the same refs more than once, right? We're going to see the same teams probably multiple times a year, but definitely throughout my career. And so you're going to build that relationship. And I think that's okay. I expect that you will call the game fairly.
Yeah.
I do not want you calling it in favor of me, nor do I want you calling it in favor of my opponent. I know that some calls are going to go the wrong way. I'm going to lose my shit sometimes. That guy over there is going to lose his shit sometimes. We deserve the same amount of grace and the same leash on getting that pulled back in. But I think it's absolutely okay to just BS a little bit before the game. It doesn't have to be stick up your rear end, military, professional. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, I think you can cut loose and be. In fact, I try to, because I assume refs at every game are getting the pissed off coaches that are like, oh, here you guys are again. You know what I mean? The guys are going to be throwing all the flags later on us and ruining the game for me and me only. And I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I've been around that head coach who is at the end of losing a game when he's down by 2 or more touchdowns, he's still chewing the ref's ass like it's the ref's fault that his team didn't perform on that night against a far superior opponent. Like, I just don't. It doesn't have to be that. I think we can cut loose. We can BS. When you blow that first whistle and it's time to go, it's time to kick off. It's professional time.
So now talking about the rapport, just a personal reflection. Worked a game. This wasn't this past year. Gosh, it was at least last year, maybe 2 years ago. Worked a game where it was a state powerhouse team, but it was a state powerhouse team that had a notorious reputation of being dirty.
Right.
And they had a couple of absolute dude offensive linemen. I mean, 3-star, 4 stars, 5 stars across the board, like just absolute maulers. Well, their best player was a notorious person who got a 15-yarder pretty much every single game. So early in the game, I just started talking with him. I had seen him a couple months earlier at one of my daughter's lacrosse tournaments. He was there with, I don't know if it was a sister or a girlfriend. He was there because it was a girls' lacrosse tournament, but I saw him there. And so I was like, hey, saw you at this lacrosse tournament. What are you doing there? So we just got into a conversation, and that kind of broke the ice with him. So it made it okay, and it was good. But sure as shit, about halfway into the second quarter, I got a 15-yarder on him. And he's like, Mr. Official, I thought I'm like, yeah, we did. Like, we bonded. I'm like, but what you did crossed the line. I had to flag it. And he came back the next play. He's like, all right, I got you. So, like, he wasn't happy with it, but I created that bond with him. But this kid was notorious for it. And, I mean, his reputation was warranted. But I had built a rapport with him that a lot of other officials, when they would have thrown that 15-yarder on him, well, that would have probably led to a second 15-yarder later on in the game, because he would have been pissed off saying, oh, yeah, I'll show you what I can really do. But he's like, all right, you got me. But it was conversation. They're high school age kids. Hey, you were at a lacrosse game. Oh yeah, I'm going to play lacrosse this year. Okay. You're 6'7", 340 pounds. No, you're not. I didn't say that to him.
Like goalie, right? I'm a firm believer that kids want discipline. They want those guidelines. They want it to be strict. But you got to have the relationship with them to do it without the backlash. I mean, I still have to whip my kid's rear end every once in a while that's sitting in this room next door, right? And it's because he still is pushing the boundaries.
Yep.
But life is a lot smoother when the boundaries are there, and when he gets a hold of them, the old electric fence gets him and puts him back in line, right? Life goes so much smoother. They're going to test it. They have to. They're kids on a football field too, right? Like, I'm getting beat. I'm going to try this hold. Maybe he calls it, maybe he doesn't. He doesn't want you to throw the flag, but he wants the game to be fair too.
Yeah. So now here's a question for you in relation to that. How many of your stud teams where they have those 3, 4, 5-star athletes on there are really pushing the limit because they can get away with it at practice, because they can get away with it at school, because they're that 5-star and the school's not going to say boo to them. And now all of a sudden you throw a flag on them and they're like, well, don't you know who I am? I'm like, yeah, you're number 73 with a hold.
I have to admit that I haven't been around. I think a lot of that is true. I've not been around, I don't think, at more than a 3-star in my lifetime, but maybe 4. Weirdly enough, most of them were offensive linemen, and most of them were just down-to-earth, humble, like, I don't deserve this kind of guy. So, it speaks to O-linemen, I guess. But yeah, I 100% think that.
Well, thank you.
There are guys out there who are excessively good at what they do, and they are from a very early age. They're fed with a silver spoon, and you're whoever's the one in charge of keeping them in line has got a hard job, right? It's gonna be pretty hard for them. So,
all right. So we got one more slide here, and this one is our final slide and our final reflection, but it's about our professionalism, our preparation, and our growth plan. This truly now goes back to our off season. Was I on time? Was I properly equipped? Was I physically and mentally prepared for the games, or did I cut corners? And those little things, that's what the kids are going to pick up on. How committed was I with my film review, with my rule study, with attending clinics and getting specific developmental opportunities that I pursue before next season? Again, this is now off-season stuff. And the last one is, are there 3 concrete areas or items that I can complete that will definitely make me a better person next fall? And I say person, my slideshow here says official, but person, coach, dad, official, whomever it may be. Come next fall, come next football season, how can I be better at who I am? And again, that's now my off-season plan of trying to get better at who I am for next year.
Once again, going back to coaching, I think this, we have to do things to get better. It's one of my favorite parts of the podcast with Joe, the football coaching podcast, is our level up section, because it's this all year long, every week. And sometimes I feel like I purposely am going out and learning something just so it can be my level up. You know what I mean? But you're always trying to improve, and it's not hard to do. It might be kind of hard to do consistently, I guess. But yeah, I mean, we're all trying to get better. And if you're not, if you think that you've arrived and you don't have anything to learn, that's probably when things will start falling off for you, honestly.
Oh, yes. And I love that about the podcast with you and Joe, is that level up. When I was the guest on there, you guys kind of threw that at me, and I'm not going to lie, it kind of caught me off guard, but I was like, I like that. That was good. So that's a great one. So check out the, say it again.
The Football Coaching Podcast.
Yes. The JDFB segments. And, well, Daniel's a guest on there, I guess.
A guest. Yeah. I've been on there a time or 7. I was counting episodes. It's completely off topic. Counting episodes earlier because I put it on my resume, of course, right? And it's like I'm over 400 episodes or 500 episodes or something for total, like a lifetime between the 2 shows, which is so freaking cool. So cool. But anyway.
Look at you.
I know.
Now
I get to add all yours.
I'm sitting in a chair, but I bend the knee.
Nah. They're fun to do. I've learned more from them than probably the other people listening. So it's good.
It's all good. And worst case is you're sitting here drinking bourbon, which I'm out of, and talking football here in December. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you would like a copy of my little tidbits here, you could hit me up, Mike D, the referee at gmail.com. Daniel, do you have that as a hard copy for the coaches?
I do, and I'm actually going to just add it right to the share file that Mike has, so he'll have it to send to you guys. You can email me, chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com, to get a copy if you want, but obviously it's Mike's crew, so I'll just add it there at the bottom of his. And then there's a coach's interview, exit interview, and a player's exit interview. So you can have them both, Mike. And please do share them. Like that's there's not like I'm going to get so much better at this that nobody else can use it. You should all be trying to get better, and it's a great tool to do just that.
Yeah, there's no trade secrets that you're divulging, and by doing this stuff, you're just trying to all get better at what we do for the ultimate reason of what we do, and that's to win championships and get kids better.
Right. Yep, I love it.
All right, brother man. Once again, appreciate you, and I will. I think we're gonna have one more episode before the new year and take a little a week or two hiatus and just kind of hit the reset button after that. But I will talk to you in the future, and good luck this coming weekend with the team that you are consulting with in the championship game. And for all of those officials out there that are working those games, well, make sure you're on time, be physically ready, be mentally prepared, and last of all, have some fun, man. You congratulations, you've made it to a championship game. All of you, enjoy the moment. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for having me on. Guys, go listen to the podcast, the Football Coaching Podcast with Joe Daniel, Coaching 101 podcast with me and Kenny Simpson, both shows that I'm on. If you're in my area anywhere, Northeast Oklahoma, Northwest Arkansas, holler at me. Let's go have a beer or bullshit, or let's get on a chalkboard this off season. If you're a ref, I'd love to have a conversation with you too. If you're in the area, I mean, we talk about building rapport. That's what I'm about. So let's go to dinner. Let's talk ball. Let's talk about your good experiences, your bad experiences. Those are all things that I think benefit me. You know what I mean? Like we can benefit each other. So let's make that happen.
Heck yeah. All right. Yeah. And you can find me. I actually just signed up. I'm going to be going to one of the Glazier clinics in the next couple months. I'm going to be looking to head down there, talk with some coaches, seeing what I can do a little bit better, just BS and talking some football. Now, my coaching career is officially done now with my son moving on to high school.
Let's go be a high school coach again. What are you talking about? Like, let's go.
It's a little bit of a conflict of interest.
Maybe.
Yeah, they kind of frown upon that. But anyway, check all those things out. Check Daniel out. And I will post all of his spots on the site itself. And I will share with him my little blurb. So you can just follow us on X, Instagram, Twitter. Well, I said that one, TikTok, YouTube, all over the interweb. We're around. You can find us.
All the things.
Yes, sir. All right. Good night, all. Bye.